What is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video of my sports, Gematria. In this video, I'm going to go over the NBA Finals, Game 1 for Tuesday, July 6, 2021. I'm going to show you highlights of each side, and it's going to be up to you to determine who you think will win based on the numbers. I encourage you to add additional information on top of this if needed for you to feel confident in your own pick. And if for some reason you're curious to know who I'm picking in these games, you have to join my Patreon. My picks are always in writing, underlined, and italicized. For more information on that, please read the description of this video. I wish you guys the best of luck in your picks today. Let's go ahead and get to the game. We're going to be looking at Game 1, NBA Finals, Bucks versus the Suns. Going to start off in Phoenix. On this side of the screen is what I call my daily numbers, date numerology, Gregorian Hebrew calendar. And on this side of the screen is what I call my game numbers. So I have the away team up top here, their coach's record, their season record, their postseason record. In the middle here is the head-to-head record between the two teams. And then at the bottom here is the home team, their season record, their postseason record, their coach's record. Up top here is just some information on the series. This is game 1. Someone's going to take that 1-0 lead. This will be the 80th NBA playoff game for this season. Home teams in the playoffs are currently 43-36, so they can get their 44th win or their 37th loss. And then game 2 would be the 81st game, game 3 the 82nd, game 4 the 83rd, so on and so forth. So Bucks and the Suns, game 1. Today is the 291st day on the Hebrew civil calendar. And this is the Suns' 291st postseason game as a team. 291 was a huge number for the Suns, specifically for the coach. The coach literally sat on 291 wins, or excuse me, 291 losses for his career on like a 10-game or 9-game winning streak in the playoffs. He just sat on that 291, and you know, those were at the tail end when they played the Lakers. Then they swept the Nuggets. And he didn't actually get his 292nd loss until I think Game 3 in the Western Conference Finals. And Western Conference had that 192, which is just a reflection of 291. And he actually became 267, 291 as a record all time for his career at one point in time in these playoffs. So it's interesting that the game 1 is on the 291st day of the Hebrew Civil, and it's their 291st postseason game as a team, knowing that the Suns coach sat on that 291 for a good amount of time. Here, I'll show you guys. Right, right here. They beat the Lakers 100-92, which sums to a total of 192 points, as he sat on 291 losses, and then he sat on that 291 right here, all through here, and he didn't actually get his 292nd loss until right here. And of course, he got his 293rd as well in that series. So it's interesting. What's even more interesting is that game 2, which will be played on Thursday. I'll show you. Game 2 was on Thursday, July 8th. And July 8th, if we go to it, will be the 293rd day on the Hebrew Civil. And that's how many losses he's sitting on, 293. So the Suns, their first game is their 291st postseason game. Game 2 is going to be on the 293rd day of the Hebrew Civil. Is the Suns coach going to sit on that 293 until at least game 2? And if he does, I would assume he'll probably sit on that 293 until at least game 3. Because again, this is going to be the Suns' 291st postseason game. Game 2 is going to be their 292nd postseason game, which means game 3 is going to be their 293rd postseason game. How long is the Suns coach going to sit on that 293? I feel like he's going to at least sit on that for the game 1 to head into game 2, which is going to be on the 293rd day of the Hebrew civil calendar. And then why not have him sit on it for game 2 heading into game 3, which will be their 293rd postseason game. So that's pretty interesting, I think. Game 2 on Thursday will be the 189th day of the Gregorian civil year, and Bucks coach would be sitting on 189 wins for his career if they lose game 1 heading into game 2 on the 189th day. He would actually have a record of 189-81, and game 2 is going to be the 81st NBA playoff game on the 189th day of the Gregorian. And so he can be 189-81. It's the 149th all-time head-to-head matchup between these two teams. Let me go back to game 1, yeah. 149th all-time head-to-head matchup between these two teams. Bucks coach, he can sit on 419 all-time head-to-head wins for his career with the loss. 419 is just an anagram of 149. And both of these teams come in sitting on 145, 145 postseason losses. 145, 145 postseason losses. This is the 75th NBA season. 75 sums to 145. Whoever gets 4 losses gets their 149th postseason loss. One of these two teams is going to get their 149th postseason loss. What's interesting is if Suns win 4 games, they would get their 149th postseason win. So both of these teams have the opportunity to get their 149th postseason loss, but Suns is the only one that has the opportunity to get their 149th postseason win, and that's for them to win 4 games, which would put them as the NBA Finals champion. So I think it's interesting that this series between the two teams starts off with the 149th all-time head-to-head matchup. Not only that, the Suns are 75-73 all-time head-to-head against the Bucks. 75-73. Like I just said, this is the 75th NBA season. What are the odds that we're going to see Bucks reach at least 75 wins? What are the odds the Suns sit on that 75? I don't think the Suns are going to sit on the 75, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks get at least 2 wins to get their 75th all-time head-to-head win against the Suns in the 75th NBA season at some point in time during this NBA Finals. I can imagine that the series would go to a game 6 and somebody's going to win it 4-2. Right now I'm leaning towards Suns. But it will be game 1. It will be July 6th, written 7/6 or 6/7. The word West sums to 67. And Suns are literally 4 wins away. They can get their 64, 65, 66, 67th win for the season, which would put them as NBA Finals winners. But in game 1, they can just go ahead and pick up their 76th all-time head-to-head win against the Bucks on July 6th, 7/6 or 6/7. It will be the 115th day on the Hebrew religious, and the number 58 sums to 115, and the Bucks can sit on 58 wins for the season with a loss, as their coach sits on that 419 and the 149th all-time, as he becomes 189-81 all-time as a coach for the Bucks. Game 2 being played on the 189th day, which would be the 81st NBA playoff game. He'd be 189-81. It would be his 271st all-time game as a coach for the Bucks. In game 2, 271 is the 58th prime number. Bucks could continue to sit on that 58 till at least heading into game 2. So there's a lot of good numbers here I like for the Suns for at least game 1 and potentially game 2, honestly. But there are some numbers here for the Bucks in game 1. One of them being that even though there is 34 date numerology on the Gregorian for game 1 and Suns can get their 34th home win, the Bucks, they can get their 139th all-time postseason win as a team, which is the 34th prime number, Bucks could get their 59th win for the season as they become 13-5 for the playoffs this season with the win. And the number 59 sums to 135, so they have that connection there. Also sums to 54, and today has 54 and 34 date numerology on the Gregorian. So there are some numbers here for Bucks to take game one. They can just as easily, though, become 12-6. 54 date numerology, 54 sums to 126. But for me, I am liking this idea, the 291, the 293. Game 3 is going to be the Suns' 293rd postseason game as a team. How long is the Suns coach going to sit on that 293? If I were to guess, I would guess until at least their 293rd postseason game. And that's only because Game 2 is also the 293rd day on the Hebrew Civil, the 189th day on the Gregorian. They can sit on that 189, the coach. If Suns win the first two games at home and get their 77th all-time head-to-head win against the Bucks in Game 2, it wouldn't be surprising. Phoenix Suns Arena sums to 77. So maybe they can get that 77th all-time head-to-head win against the Bucks. So they would become 77-73. And Suns summed to 73. Phoenix Suns sums to 164. And if Suns sweep the Bucks, they would become 16-4 for a postseason record this year. Now that's a tall order, sweeping the Bucks, even with Giannis out. Like I said, I feel like it's probably going to go to a game 6, just for the simple fact that Bucks are 2 wins away from getting their 75th all-time head-to-head win against the Suns. This being the 75th season, I feel like the Bucks are going to get at least 2 wins this series at minimum. So even though I like the Suns, Phoenix Suns 16-4. If Suns just sweep the Bucks 4-0, they would become 16-4 for a playoff record this season. That's one of my benchmarks. I just don't know if it's actually going to hit. Because there's numbers here for Bucks to win some games. But that's what I'm looking at for right now. For game 1, I'm actually eyeing the Suns. There are some numbers for the Bucks, like I said, the 59, the 135. And with it being the 80th NBA playoff game, the coach could just sit on 80 all-time head-to-head loss, or excuse me, 80 losses as a coach for the Bucks. You know, he can get his 81st loss in the 81st NBA playoff game. He doesn't have to sit on that 189, even though it's going to be the 189th day on the Gregorian on that day. So 80, 81, 82, 83, kind of interchangeable with the Bucks coach's record, 80, 81. And I guess if the Suns did sweep, he would get his 81st loss in the 80th game heading into 81. He would get his 82nd loss heading into 82. He would get his 83rd loss heading into 83. I suppose you can do that pattern. And then his game 2 would be his 271st game, the 58th prime. They could be still sitting on that 58 wins. Game 1 is on the 115th day. 58 sums to 115. What else? What else? For the Bucks, one thing for the Bucks have going, if you want to look at future numbers, if the Bucks beat the Suns in the first 2 games, they would probably win game 3 as well. So Bucks could go up 3-0 against the Suns. And the reason why I would make that case is because if the Suns coach loses game 1, he gets his 294th loss all time. If Suns lose game 2, he gets his 295th loss all time, which means in game 3, he could potentially get his 296th loss all time. And game 3 is going to be played on Sunday, July 11th. And Sunday, July 11th will be the 296th day on the Hebrew Civil. So if you're liking the Bucks in this series and you think Bucks are going to win game 2, game 1, game 2, heading in back into Milwaukee for game 3, That's probably what you would be looking at, is this 296 for game 3, where Suns coach can get his 296th all-time loss for his career. And again, Suns 291 are eventually going to reach 294. Maybe they'll reach 296. That would be game 5. I think it would be game 5. Yeah, something like that. But a lot of interchangeable numbers here. A lot of things to think about, consider for game 1. Different scenarios you can run with these numbers. Hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully this gives you some insight on what's going on for game 1. And I wish you guys the best luck in your picks. I hope you win everything that you pick. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate the support.